Oameni dragi, avem o singură doamnă astăzi, sau domnișoară pe scenă, așa că puteți să-i dăm un rând de palme, aplauze, pardon. Aplauze, puteți să începeți, da? Iar eu am să vă spun câteva lucruri despre Alexandra. Alexandra Bădiță este expert în storytelling și journaling, dedicată ajutării antreprenoarelor să valorifice puterea storytelling-ului pentru construirea unui brand de impact. Cu peste 8 ani în marketing digital și un masterat în jurnalism și publicitate, Alexandra ajută femeile să-și transforme poveștile în branduri credibile și de încredere. Tema pe care o va aborda astăzi este Turning Stories into Brands, the blueprint for women entrepreneurs at the start of their journey with WordPress. În aplauzele noastre, Alexandra.
Hello, everyone. Can you think of one brand that has a very strong presence during Christmas time? Just think about it. Yes, I already heard you say it. Okay. Why did you think of it? Was it because it gave you a nice feeling, you connected it with the holidays, maybe with family? Or was it because it annoys you so much that you just are fed up with it? Either way, you remembered it because it gave you a strong emotion. And this is exactly what stories do. The role of a story is to give you strong emotions. Whether you love it and you empathize with it, or, on the contrary, it's the worst story and you think the hero is the worst villain ever, you will remember it. That's why today we're talking about storytelling, which is exactly what happens after you have a website. Back in 2014, when I was working as a digital project manager for a publishing company, I was feeling that my creativity was a little bit stuck. So I decided to start my first blog. It was like a public journal because I was sharing there a lot of personal stories from what was going on in my life, from traveling to dating to books, movies. And later, that blog turned into my personal development business, which today is about sharing with people what writing in a journal means, and then how that story that you only know can become your brand through storytelling. Throughout the years, I have created 5 blogs for myself and a few others for clients and students that I had in workshops who were curious about starting to share their stories. Now, let me tell you this. I don't know how to code, but I am very curious, so I Googled a lot, and I watched tons of YouTube videos, and I also squeezed my memory for every single bit of HTML that I could remember from high school. I just wanted it to do it by myself. Luckily, in time, there was Elementor, now we have ChatGPT, and of course, the beautiful WordPress community and the forums that we can read and get a lot of information from. Now, during the pandemic, when everyone was concerned about more important things than personal development, I thought, how can I put my skills into practice? How can I serve people with what I know? At that point, people were only thinking about health and money. So I figured, how can I support them to make money from their passions. During that context, a lot of people decided to start that passion project or that side hustle business. So I was there to support them with creating a brand. So I started teaching workshops, and I worked mostly with women entrepreneurs who were ready to finally take that step and share their story and start their business and be visible. Now you might be thinking, blogging, come on, that's so last decade. And I get it. But at the same time, someone said in marketing that social media is not your own. So if you build your business exclusively on social media, and tomorrow all the platforms fall, or there's a glitch, or something happens with the algorithm, what happens with your business? Does it go away as well? Which is why we need to consider in our strategy and in our ecosystem to have that website and that blog as part of our business. Now, of course, we will use social media to promote, to share, and to increase that visibility. But our blog will still be important. If you have a service-based business, then you will think about building a personal brand because you are the face of your business. Whether you are a consultant or a coach, maybe you are a personal trainer or a nail artist, people will come to you to get that service. So you are the personal brand. And this is why your story is what matters. You will want to share personal stories so people can get to know you, to like you, and to trust you. If you have a product-based business, then maybe you don't need to be at the forefront of your business, but your product needs to be. So how are you going to differentiate your product from everything else that's on the market? You put it in the center of a story. You make it the hero of a story. So this is how we get to use storytelling in this context. A story lives only in your memory until you share it. You can think about this. You want to build a personal brand, and then you create a LinkedIn profile. And you say, now I'm visible. I have a LinkedIn profile. But is that enough? On your LinkedIn profile, you have your experiences, your background, your education. But what's behind all of that? What are the stories behind your achievements, your certificates? What were the obstacles that you had to overcome to get there? All of that is only in your memory until you share it. And it goes the same for products, because if you only tell about the details, the specifics, the technicalities of a product, then you might lose some people. But if you tell them a story and you wrap the product in a story, people will remember it. Just like you remembered the brands for Christmas. The American psychologist Jerome Bruner carried the research, and he discovered that facts are 20 times more likely to be remembered if they're part of a story. Which is why you want to bring products and details as part of a story to get them to be remembered. This also has to do with the fact that stories give you that strong emotion, which will help you to remember it. There was a paper that was published by the Oxford Academic that was analyzing how Homer, the Greek writer, presented men and women telling stories. It turns out that during that time, men used to tell long stories. They would go into analyzing and telling the details and going into pros and cons, whereas women would tell fewer stories, but filled with emotion. They would share if they were happy or in pain. They were sharing whether they were suffering or they were enthusiastic. Whereas men were looking for appraisals and applause for their stories, women wanted to hear a mirror story, to hear someone else share something similar, because that was what made them feel seen and heard. Do you think there's any difference nowadays? That's true. There's not. An article published by Forbes at the beginning of this year mentions that women consider storytelling as bragging. Because when women share a story, people start judging them and labeling them and saying that they talk too much and they take too much space. Therefore, even when women get in leadership positions, they tend to put the spotlight on someone else from their team, which is very beautiful, but it's at their expense. Because then they are considered to be maybe not so good as leaders because they're not shining. So this is a vicious cycle that carries on the gender bias, which is why I chose to speak today about how women entrepreneurs get to use their voice and share their story. However, the framework and the techniques that I'm sharing today are applicable for everyone. Because in my opinion, everyone has a story to tell. It's really just about finding that courage to tell it. So before you find excuses on why you don't want to share your story, let me remind you of these 3 tips. Keep a confident mindset. It all starts in here. If you have a lot of fear that is kicking in and telling you, don't tell your story, I'm sure someone else has better stories than you, don't listen to it. Instead, think like this. I am a writer. I'm a blogger. I'm a business owner. Or better, my voice matters. My brand matters. Can you say this with me? My voice matters. My brand matters. Thank you. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things, because this will keep you from starting a blog or a website or sharing your story. You don't need to do that. If you feel that it's too difficult, then you can ask for help from the WordPress community. You can research, and I'm sure that you will find a simple way to start your website or your blog. And most importantly, set a deadline, because every intention will just disappear if you don't set a deadline. So decide that I'm going to start my blog by this date. This will put you into action. Okay, so I promised you today the blueprint on how to use WordPress at the beginning of your journey as entrepreneurs. Are you ready to get it? Yes. Okay. So the first step is to decide on your brand name. This will be your domain name. So, for instance, if you are a personal brand, then you will choose your own name. You will research if the domain is available. Then you will purchase the domain and start building the website. If you want to get more creative, then you might need to do a little bit of brainstorming before you choose your brand. Then again, you research, find the domain, purchase it, start building. When I started, I was stuck at this stage for about 2 weeks because I was brainstorming for what I wanted to be the brand that I was starting as my blog. And I wanted it to be creative and memorable, but I just didn't know what word to use. And I shared this story on my YouTube channel, so you can also find it there, but it literally came in my sleep. I woke up, I wrote it down, went back to sleep. And that's how Impressivity was born. The second step is to write the About Me page. This is going to be the first story that you're sharing. You probably know statistics show that the About Me page is the second most visited website page after the homepage. So share what motivates you, why you want to start that business, what does it mean for you to have that brand, and talk about what is inspiring for you. Don't think that, it will be easy and this will just get people to knock at your door and then ask you, "Oh, I read your story. What do you have to sell? I want to buy it." It's not going to happen so fast. But this will be your first story. This is how you start. The third step is to build a community. Build a movement. It's not enough to share only once. You need to be consistent and keep sharing. Share about your values, your beliefs. Bring people together that have similar values with you, and this is how they will start to trust you. This is how they will later become your customers. And this is how you will have a business. The good old-fashioned email list. After you start building that community, you will learn more about what their needs are and how you can be of service to them, which means that you can create something that you can offer to them as a resource and in exchange get their email address. This way, you will be able to communicate with them in a more memorable and intimate way. I know someone who is in business for many years, and she sends an email regularly to her email list, and she shares a story. But she shares only the beginning of her story. If you want to read the rest of it, you have to pay $2 or $3. But her community is so invested in her stories and in what she shares and the insights that she has that they are paying. So there is a lot of value in building that email list. Also because people here who already gave you their email address are interested in what you're selling. So instead of doing a lot of social media ads, and of course you are going to use that as well in your marketing mix, but they are already warm in your email list. So keep that in mind. And last but not least, keep sharing stories. Building a brand is a long-term journey, and it will take time to build your reputation. A brand is how people recognize you, how people associate you with your industry. So yes, it will take time, and you will need to be consistent and create stories regularly. And the only way for you to create an authentic brand is to be authentic in your stories and to share real, true stories. You can use ChatGPT, for instance, to brainstorm stories, but always bring your own input. So to recap, choose your brand name, write your first story on the About Me page, build a community, create an email list, and keep sharing stories. And whenever you have that fear kicking in and preventing you from sharing a story, think about this. It's not about you. It's about who you are impacting. What is your legacy? How are you contributing? What are you leaving behind? Storytelling is about that impact that you're making, sharing your voice. So my invitation for you is to put that fear aside and write a real story. Begin today and keep sharing, because this way you will be able to transform your story into your personal brand identity. Thank you.
Am lăsat să oferiți aceste aplauze. Mulțumim frumos, Alexandra.
Mulțumesc și
Am o sticlă de pregătită și pentru tine, din partea sponsorului nostru Vinarte.
Și pentru mine.
Da, bineînțeles.
Mulțumesc.
Mă alegi cu cine o bei.
Mulțumesc.
Mulțumim frumos. Fain subiect, arta povestirii. Ce vă zice despre arta povestirii?
Am povestit foarte bine.
E asistent. Zi.
Deci m-a mesmerizat, pur și simplu, parcă eram în transă și m-am simțit atât de motivat să-mi scriu propria poveste, să fac propriul brand. Mulțumesc foarte mult.
Acum îl aplaudăm și pe el, nu? În pregătirea mea, acolo unde îmi desfășor activitatea, când vorbesc cu antreprenori sau manageri, vorbesc des despre arta povestirii. De cum poți să inspiri sau să influențezi o echipă sau chiar felul în care îți pui brandul în exterior prin poveste. Asta este un lucru foarte fain și eu împărtășesc ceea ce spunea Alexandra.